Looking for the latest on the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, and Aggies? Yeah, we've got you covered. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's a Tuesday, which means we'll chat with Ian Fitzsimmons coming up here in just a moment, get his thoughts on the upcoming college football weekend, recap the last weekend as well. And remember, he put the fear of God into a lot of us over that Central Florida line with BYU. And ultimately, it was just BYU doing what BYU's been doing to pretty much every team this year, and that's dump trucking some people.
Yeah, and it was Vegas making no sense at all. By the time that thing was over, it was like, what was Vegas looking at?
There was some free money to be had there.
2.5-point favorite. But it was so weird. It was such a bizarre line that I think it scared a lot of people away.
Well, I think it was Vegas. Now you look back in retrospect, maybe Vegas was like, you know what? We are going to do everything we can to tempt the Mormons. We are going to tempt them and make them see if we can get them to open up their pocketbooks. Because we're going to make a line that seems so outlandish that even a member of the LDS community would have to bet on it.
Yeah, well, it was that enticing.
Well, joining us now, Ian Fitzsimmons from ESPN joins us as he does every Tuesday at this time. Ian, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, man, that was impressive. The first thing I heard out of your mouths was open up the pocketbook, right? And I know exactly what I'm assuming you're talking about Central Florida and BYU because, as I told you guys last week, that was I'd say maybe 12 to 15 times a year in a college football campaign, Vegas will beg you to take one side. And I harped on it with you guys last week, like, please, BYU, be careful here, man. I mean, you got a bye week after this. You got your rivalry game with Utah right after that. Just don't get caught. And it was beyond impressive, man. I didn't see a ton of it because we had Ole Miss early in the early window and then had to drive to Memphis to try and get home. But I've seen some of the highlights, and damn, I mean, that was as impressive of a win before a bye, before a rival. So that's that typical trap game. You don't get caught peeking, and they didn't. And that goes to two things. Player-led and coaching. And it was so stinking impressive. And Vegas normally lose. I mean, they only lose about maybe, if you have 15 of those a year, they only lose maybe 4 of them. And they got their butts kicked on that one. And I mean, they got crushed.
Yeah, BYU came out in that opening drive, went down the field, scored. It was never even close. Really, the final score didn't show how bad the beating was. They show up now at number 9 in the top 25. Ian, is that the right place for them? And where do you see them in, 6 days or so that we get the official CFP rankings?
Next week. Yep. So there's a press conference tomorrow morning as far as just getting you primed and ready, kind of going over all the rules for the college football playoff because it's still amazing to me, but I don't think everybody truly understands exactly the college football playoff rankings because there's not a lot of open seats at this table. Just because we've expanded to 12 guys doesn't mean that, there's going to be all these, opportunities for other squads outside of the SEC and the Big Ten. So you have the top 4 conference champs for people who don't know. They're your top 4 seeds. I don't care if you're a 3-win team and you win your conference championship. Guess what? You're going to be seeded and have a bye in that top 4. The highest group of 5 comes in at number 5, and then, bam, we have the rest of it. And there's going to be 4 SEC teams, at least 3 Big Ten teams. So the Big 12 is a one-bid conference. That's what made me so nervous about BYU going into that game last week when I saw that number of Central Florida, a team that struggled the last few weeks, being favored. But right now, I'd have BYU about where they are. Yeah, if you want to put them ahead of Notre Dame, go right ahead. I think they belong in front of Texas A&M. That SMU win keeps getting better and better. You are huge pony-up tempo fans against Pitt this weekend. Don't know if their quarterback's going to play or not, meaning Pittsburgh's. But I think, BYU has played their way, earned their way into the top 10, in my opinion.
So you've done the mock selection committee for the college football playoff, correct?
Twice, yep.
All right, and I did it when I don't know if they still do it for the NCAA tournament or for basketball, but I did it for basketball. I've not done it for the college football playoff. But so let me ask you this: if and I assume I know the answer to this, but just for clarification purposes, let's say,
Scotty, I've known you 20 years. You're going to assume something with me?
Oh yeah, no, it's a good point. But you get let's say you get a BYU situation where BYU ends up losing the Big 12 championship game to Iowa State.
Lord.
At 12-0.
At 12-0, but Iowa State, let's say the rankings come out and BYU still ahead of Iowa State. Does the conference champion, is it like basketball where the winner of your conference championship game gets the automatic bid, or is it still up to the committee based on the rankings?
Whomever wins that conference title, you're automatically in.
Okay.
Everybody else goes to at-large.
All right.
So Iowa State loses the title game, they're in the at-large. BYU loses that title game, and you're hypothetical. You're going to you're on pins and needles. You're like Wagner, waiting to see where you're seated. I mean, and if you're in. So as far as going back to your basketball analogy, and I think that's fair, in my opinion, because it's better than nothing. I mean, at least you got a shot compared to what I thought the 4-team playoff alienated the moment it came out a decade ago. By this time, how many teams are already saying, "All right, we're done"?
Yeah.
Think about it. I mean, a ton.
Yeah.
You look at LSU. Well, we're done. Bama done. I mean, go to any other 2-loss team out there. You're cooked as Christmas dinner, right? So this gives so many other fan bases, so many more teams, an opportunity to still be emotionally and to an extent, when it comes to college football playoff, fiscally invested.
So, Ian, can I have you reiterate that? Because you'd mentioned the Big 12. You're just saying it's a one-bid league. So it's the champion is
I think it is.
And, and everything else is eliminated.
But there's still a lot of football left to be played. I mean, but the problem for BYU right now, and this is going to be a harsh reality, there's not a lot of meat left on that bone. You've got, 2 teams left that are over 500 if you include the title game?
Yeah. I'm
going off the top of my head here. I think Utah's the only team left on their schedule that has, a plus 500 record. So you got to shine, and that's one where, again, you're after you beat Utah, you're Utah fans. You are a huge SMU fans against Pittsburgh. You're Iowa State fans right now. You want them as highly ranked as possible. Coming up at 1:30 Mountain Time on Saturday on ESPN, you're dialed in to Iowa State and Texas Tech. I think that's the right kick time. And you are rooting against the Tortilla Heads, and you're big Cyclone fans.
Arizona State's the only plus 500. Utah's at 500.
That's right. Okay, so there are 2 teams. Yeah, 500 or better, right? Yeah, that's it. That's what it was.
Yeah, and that's with the championship game.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I mean, But again, if you lose that title game and it's a close game and Iowa State's in the top 10 and BYU's in the top 10, then the committee's going to look into that. I can't emphasize this enough, having been on that committee twice, not with a 12 team, but with a 4. But I've been told by everybody that is involved with that committee, from their PR director, Brett Daniels, to the new chair. Strength of record, strength of schedule is going to be a massive point of emphasis. They are sick and tired of seeing, Weber State play, Texas. They don't want them anymore. That's why you're seeing the SEC and Big Ten starting to talk about having, more interconference matchups. And that's where I think Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, and now we're going a lot of big picture here, needs to try and get on board with that and find a way to make sure you are scheduling big-time opponents, because that strength of record, strength of schedule is going to be emphasized more than ever starting next week.
This is so much fun for me, and I mean it's been a blast to watch this team get to 8-0 and building up into the team that it has become.
Man, there wasn't a team. Find me one person, that wasn't a mom or a dad of a player that had BYU even in the top 10 of the Big 12, and here they are in the top 10 of the country.
No, there's nobody out there, and
it's awesome.
I'm hoping that everybody can freely admit that, and as media members, we take the heat of it. And I was sitting there at that 5 or 6 win range preseason, and I love being proven wrong because I get to travel around with this team and call good football, and that's a blast. I mean, I want to call good football.
Hell yes, I had them at 7-5. They've already eclipsed that, man. I was a football fool.
So it's been a blast, but I'll also tell you, and I'm a fight fan, big time MMA fan. And, I'll watch these up-and-coming fighters. They grow that record. They finally get that shot against one of the top dogs. Typically they'll put him against an old boy that had big records that might be on his way down. And then you watch them get wrecked, and you're like, oh, man, they weren't ready. What do you think would happen with BYU if they took on a top 3-seeded team in the Big Ten or the SEC right now? Just with your depth of knowledge of these teams and rosters and the way they're made up, how do you think BYU would handle a Big Ten or SEC team?
Well, right now, if you'd asked me that question 4 weeks ago, I'd have said they get smoked by 3 touchdowns. But they've been proving me wrong all year. They are so much better than I thought. The BYU T-shirts are phenomenal.
Aren't those great?
Just absolutely fun. I got to get one. I really do. So the team that I've seen all year, that I would say if it's Tennessee, they're a 7-point dog. Bama around the same. Georgia, that's a different animal, and I'll see them in 2 weeks at Ole Miss, which is going to be should be an outstanding game. We just got to sign that game this morning. When Georgia sees a number ranked next to their opponent, they bow their backs a bit. If there's not a number next to the opponent, they're like, "What's for dessert at the post-game meal?" They just don't play the same for some reason. Texas would, I'd say, be around where Georgia is, but I'd have them around a 10-point underdog. But you know what? You get one bounce, one special teams gaff. A safety falls down. And you get to steal a play. Yeah, again, 3-4 weeks ago, I'd have said minimum against any of those teams, 3 touchdown underdog. That's how much better they have shown on film, in person. You see them every week. They're a much better football team than I ever anticipated, and I'm happy to say it.
Oh, they're good, Ian. They're good.
Yeah.
And they've got 2 draftable linebackers, but their 3 linebackers, Glasgow, Taggart, and Kelly, are nothing short of spectacular. Glasgow is going to be a top 3 round pick. Jack Kelly will be a top 4 round pick when they're eligible. Kelly's just a junior. Glasgow's just a sophomore. So they're going to be picks. Taggart, I don't know if Taggart's going to be a pick, but he's just a sophomore too, so he's got some growing to do. But they have got so much unique talent that is just showing up, playing inside scheme well. And it's crazy, Ian. It's like we're watching what we thought Utah would be, but we're watching it in Provo. And it is really entertaining football.
Yeah, and right now they'd be probably the 4 seed.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. BYU is your 4 seed.
Yeah.
Right? If they win the Big 12, you're in. Here we go. You get a bye, all that good stuff, man. Kick back, enjoy, heal up, and then go swap some paint.
Wow.
Whoever would have thought it.
Big 12 at 13-0.
Again, you know what we're doing? We're getting ahead of ourselves. Heal up during the bye. Take care of business because there's not a lot of meat left on that bone.
We are getting ahead of ourselves, but you're the one that said it, Ian. It's like, look at what you got in front of the 4 teams you got in front of you. They're nothing like the Kansas State or the SMU team that you beat.
No.
Now, Arizona State with Scatterboom makes me nervous, but I just watched them stop up a pretty severe running attack against UCF. I mean, that was a team that was averaging, 230 yards a game? Let me look at this. They were averaging, I think, 280 yards a game. Remember, we were talking about that. Yep. And they held them to like 160. It's impressive what they're doing.
Scatterboom. Wouldn't you love to that dude, put him in my foxhole, put him in my huddle anytime, man. That dude is a boy dog, a warrior.
He's a Luke Staley.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. Hey, when you're looking at Kyle Whittingham and the Utes, and you covered this rivalry, you were here in Salt Lake City, you know how weird this rivalry can be. This, I don't look. We're all going to pick BYU to beat Utah, and Vegas will have BYU as a favorite. That being said, that would be the most Utah-BYU thing ever for Utah to find a way to beat BYU here in 2 weeks. That would be the most holy war thing ever.
Remember back in 2004? Yeah,
yes.
But remember in 2004, we all thought, like, all right, is this BYU, that final run, right, where they can end this undefeated, unbelievable – that would have been, like, the most Utah-Utah thing ever. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even close because that 2004 team was just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, look at all the guys that got the pension in the NFL off that squad, just a well-coached football team. Go back and look at the coaching staff. It's like a who's who in college football. But to your point, It would, and you know how much it would mean to Whit to say, you know what, here's a little something else in your Cheerios besides milk.
Hey, how surprised were you with the Andy Ludwig news?
Very. And again, we kind of touched on it a little bit last week, but sometimes, for whatever reason, whether he was frustrated with just a curse of Cam, man, and I'm not talking about, Cam cursing them. I'm talking about Cam being cursed. The football guys never just smiled on this man in the last 3 years. It was so hard to watch. You guys are there. I'm not. My brother coached with Ludwig for a few years, loves him to death. And sometimes when you wake up in the morning in the coaching profession, this is something my brother's talked about for years, and you wake up and you just don't feel like going to work.
Yeah. Yep.
That's when you know it's time.
Yeah. Yep.
And maybe he just woke up and said, you know what? I don't know if there's anything behind the scenes. I have no idea. But sometimes it's just as simple as I just don't feel like doing it anymore.
I've heard a lot of coaches talk about that, Ian, where if you don't have it in your guts to do it, you can't do it the way you need to do it. It's that kind of job. It takes every bit of focus and every bit of energy and effort. And if you don't got a love and passion for it, it's just going to grind you to the point where you're done. And I think a lot of coaches suffer from that at some point in their career.
Yeah, but a lot of those guys talking about suffering, they don't have the cognizant knowledge to say, you know what, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. Whereas the guys that continue to cash that paycheck and they're not fully invested, they're the ones that end up hurting more than just themselves and their families. They also and then hurting that team that they were supposed to be helping.
My worry is that this Bajakian guy that just took over for him is not the guy, Ian. That's my worry. It's like,
well, it's not like you can go hire somebody. I mean, as you know, you have to go from within. And I mean, Ludwig and Whit have come, a long, long way, man. I mean, second stint there. Again, I have not made a phone call. I have not talked to anybody. But they always seem to have a very good relationship. So I hope it's not something behind the scenes that happened, that it was just he woke up having coffee and said, you know what, my heart's not in it anymore.
If you had one game where you needed a coach, of all the coaches you've covered, that you've worked with, that you've gotten to know, and I'm not even trying to get you to twist your arm to say, Kyle, you've got run the gambit. You got one game, and you get to pick your coach to win you that one game. Who are you taking that's currently a head coach in college football right now?
I'm glad you said that currently one, because it had been that dude named Nick, last name Saban.
Yep.
It'd be Kirby Smart.
Kirby? Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've had him in the national championship twice, college football playoff semis twice, SEC title game. I mean, the bigger the game, the better his team plays. And that's you go back and look at it. I mean, it's Auburn almost took him down last year. Why? I know it's a rivalry game, but you ain't that good. I mean, that's kind of the. And then, who do we have next? Oh yeah. The number 4 team in the country. Yeah, we're gonna whip your ass, right? I mean, so it's. But when they're locked in, they're as good as any team in the country, and that's because of their head coach Kirby Smart. He will rip your heart out with a spoon to win a football game.
Because it would hurt more.
He's heartless.
Damn right. It'd be slow and painful. That's exactly right.
Hey, Ian, do you think the outcome of this Utah season has any influence on Kyle Whittingham coming back or not coming back?
Man, we briefly touched on this one for people who missed us last week. I don't know, man. I really don't. With Ludwig stepping down, our good friend, and I love Morgan Scalley to death. With him already being named coach and waiting, he's got plenty of money. And again, if that drive isn't there and he wants to go and be with all them grandbabies, and go skiing and not have to worry about recruiting, or, you go ride your Harley and have to worry about answering a phone call from a transfer portal, potential star player. And if that's what he wants to do, man, he has earned it. He has done so much for that program, and not just the University of Utah, but it's going to pain BYU fans, but the state of Utah. I mean, because look, that's that name that's out there, right? And you see all of a sudden Utah Utes ranked 5th in the country, back-to-back Pac-12 titles. That resonates in the back of your mind. I've had a lot of people after they won back-to-back titles come up to me going, man, what is it with Utah? I'm like, just turn the tape on. That's what's with Utah, and it starts at the top. I know for a fact several NFL teams, this was probably 8-10 years ago, tried to poach him and get him out of there. And it was finally to the point where it was like, dude, he's not leaving. He's built Camelot. He is King Arthur. He don't even try anymore. And he had a remarkable run. And I hope he doesn't go. College football is better with him in it. But that is a man-in-the-mirror decision. And that also goes with his family, because we all know what family means to that man.
Yeah. Ian, you're the best, man. We appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us as always. Who do you got this weekend?
Kentucky at Tennessee. And I got field stormed back-to-back weeks. Ole Miss was beyond impressive, on Saturday against a diminished Oklahoma squad. That game was not nearly as close as the score indicated. I can guarantee this. I will not have to be avoiding 10,000 college students at Neyland Stadium on Saturday night, because there ain't going to be a field storm. So, hey, but it should be a dandy, man. I can't wait to watch it, because I think Mark Stoops, after his mom just passed away, I don't know if you guys knew that, I think the funeral was either yesterday or today. You know he's going to want to win this one. This one's going to mean a little more to him, so I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah.
Well, excited to catch up with you next week, Ian, getting ready for the rivalry game. We'll get deeper into the X's and O's and the numbers and the personnel and what we're seeing. I mean, we've got to jump into the quarterback situation. Isaac Wilson getting benched and Brandon Rose getting thrown in. So there's a lot we're going to have to take on next Tuesday when we catch up with you, Ian.
Can't wait, man. Safe travels. And look, you're not going anywhere this week, so enjoy a home game. Sitting on your couch watching football.
Only about 40 miles for me.
Yeah.
That's it. Scotty, safe travels to you, though. But I don't think you guys have a game, right?
No, we got Utah, BYU, and Utah State, all with byes this week. It's a weird week.
Prop your boots up, kids, and enjoy a Saturday of college ball, man. I'm envious as hell. I haven't had that in like 15 years.
Well, you know what that means. It's like, hey, clean out the garage. We got to do this.
Honey-do list. There you go.
Yep, which is
never mind.
long overdue. All right, buddy.
Boys.
We'll see you.
Right, bye.
There he is, the great Ian Fitzsimmons, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. And, it just seemed like a few weeks ago he was saying, you know what, BYU's really not on anybody's radar right now. They're just not. The 2-0, 3-0, that's cute, but they're going to have to continue to win. Well, guess what? They've continued to win, and now they're America's darling in the world of college football.
But I'm with Ian. I hated the fact that I even set numbers. And it's weird. I can't even say, like, when I'm sitting in the booth with Greg Wrubell and we're looking at each other, like, even Greg won't talk about it.
Yeah.
You heard about when Greg uttered 3 letters to Tom Homo. And Tom goes, nope, not doing it. CFP, nope. And we're like, oh, nope, okay. And it's just, it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And there's 4 games left, and you're going to be favored in all 4.
Yeah.
By a margin.
Yep.
And as Ian pointed out, only one of them is a plus 500.
That's Arizona State.
And that's Arizona State. And they've got losses that tell you that, they're not overly good. They put all of their eggs into the Scattaboo basket, and you've learned with Jay Hill and this defense that you can identify strong areas, and you can take those areas away. The personnel can do it. The scheme can do it. And they're smart. This team's smart. There's reasons why I look at it and I want to start dancing on numbers, and I want to start saying those 3 letters.
Yeah.
And I wanted to start saying it after Kansas State. And I did a couple of national interviews after that Kansas State game, and people were saying, is it sustainable? Well, I said, absolutely it's sustainable, because when you got defense that plays like this, it makes it sustainable. Yeah. Well, yeah, but the turnovers. No. Defenses in proper schemes force turnovers. That's what happens. That's why they win championships. So if they do it that way, then it is sustainable.
Yes.
So I want to get out there and be like, oh, yeah, this is this. But it does not feel right. It's like, just let it happen, and then we'll just kind of enjoy it on its way. But if they get past this rivalry game,
then
we need to start talking CFPs and
once
Arlington, and
once they get past Utah, then it's Katie bar the door. We're going crazy.
We are, right?
Yeah. But also, and I know that you think. And you kind of, I don't want to say you shot me down, but you're like, hey, look, let's look at this from a football standpoint. BYU should beat Utah. And frankly, as they're trending right now, it probably shouldn't be close.
Should not be close.
But I've seen way too many of these games that just got way weird, and things just have a weird way of happening between Utah and BYU. And so I think it would be very Utah-BYU-ish if Utah found a way to win this game. But on paper, you look at it, what should happen?
I know we're way late.
Yeah.
Can we throw out – I almost want to just throw out sports roulette and stay on this because Kalani and Kyle Whittingham going at it. Kyle has been sitting on a loss since 22. Was that right?
21.
Has it been 21?
I think it was 21, yeah.
He's been sitting on a loss for a while.
Yeah.
And
yeah, because they had Florida 22 and 23. So, yeah, they haven't – yeah.
He's been sitting on a loss for a long time. And this whole thing where, these staffs know each other so well. And, you think that you're competitive or you think I'm competitive. Like, this is a different level of what would you do to win against your own best friend? Like, how far will you go? In the land of competitiveness, who will you contact? What will you say? What will you do? What information will you dig up? How far will you go to figure out what that quarterback situation is in that Utah locker room right now? Or how far will you go to find out where the weakness is on that defense? Who's got the bum ankle or who's got the hyperextended elbow? And how can we attack them? Kyle has always shown he'll go further than anybody.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But
Kyle will napalm a friendship if it needs to happen.
And, Kalani's already opened up with his press conference saying, let civility reign supreme.
Yeah.
Let's be kind and thoughtful to each other, and let's make this a fun and happy environment. Meanwhile, I think Kyle's in the coach's room right now like, sweep the leg, Johnny.
Yeah.
But sir, I think I can win this fight.
Sweep the leg.
Do you have a problem with that, Lawrence? Just in a cool, calm, collected way, like. And I look at Kalani and Roderick, and I'm like, hey, get ready to sweep the leg because you guys are going to be sweeping.
Yeah, you did it! Get him a body bag! Yeah!
Because you guys are going to be sweeping at the same time. You know what I mean? Like,
You're
You're both going to go to sweep the leg at the same time. You have to be ready to do it.
Yep. All right, Hans and Scotty right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
BYU rolling over UCF to go 8-0. Can you believe it?
This is an impressive development. All the superlatives you want to use.
Shocking, surprising. Give me another one. You can't say unprecedented. They have gone 8-0 before. But I don't know if it was as surprising with any of those teams.
And the great thing, it's all earned. Nothing has been bestowed upon them. They didn't get any bestowage.
They were bestowage free.
Going into their 8th game, they were still an underdog. So even in the moment, they weren't getting any bestowage. Now, the windows of heaven have just exploded open, and it's all earned. That's what's so cool. Everything about this is earned. Nothing was given. Nothing.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Number one.
Miss any part of the show? Every moment of every show is available in podcast form by searching Hans and Scotty on your favorite podcasting platform or online at KSLSports.com. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hope you're all having a great Tuesday. Normally we have a little sports roulette here, but we're way up against it. Went along with Ian Fitzsimmons. But Hans, this BYU-Utah thing is no joke, man.
You know who I think the secret weapon is in all of this? In this BYU-Utah game, the secret weapon.
What's that?
I think it's Aaron Roderick.
I think that's a really good call because
I'm going to tell you.
You have one elite level OC, and then you have one that stepped away and a guy that just got thrown to the wolves and said, hey, make this offense work again.
Yeah.
And that's tough to do.
I'll also tell you, out of all the guys that I know on both sides, and I've either been coached by, played with, have known well, close friends with, pretty much all of them. And the one guy that is kind of the most competitive, cutthroat, gonna go at you, but quietly but secretly. People don't understand Aaron Roderick's competitiveness. People don't get it. They just don't get it.
You know, that's the thing about Aaron. Like, because of Jay Hill and his time at Weber State, and he would come on with Jake and Ben every week. He would do weekly interviews. We got to know Jay Hill really well.
Yeah.
And we've obviously gotten to know Kyle and Kalani. When I say we, like the general sports public. Aaron Roderick very well, and I've gotten to know Aaron fairly well. But the general sports public doesn't know Aaron Roderick very well.
No.
And I think Aaron likes it that way.
Oh, yeah.
But that's make no mistake, this dude has very quietly become a coaching force in the state of Utah over the last several years. I know things ended poorly for him at Utah, and that was not a fun situation for him, but what he's done at BYU has just been fantastic. And, yes, very much adds to this. Yep.
It's not the same with Jay Hill. It's not the same with Kalani. But I don't think you're sitting in a room and Aaron Roderick's like, well, we got to keep their feelings in consideration. I think Aaron Roderick's like, let's bury him so deep they can't undig themselves.
Yep.
And I think that is an amazing attribute of a coach. When you just asked Ian who he'd take, who'd he say? Kirby Smart.
Kirby Smart, yeah.
And why did he say? Because Kirby would probably bury his own grandma for a win. Your highest level coaches have access to grind, and they have this unnecessary anger and a willingness to bury anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I've had to come to terms with that. With Aaron Roderick. I've had to come to terms with it.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. No, I know.
And I have a tremendous amount of respect because of it. Because it'll never be about friendships. It'll never be about what can I do for you. It will always be about how can I win.
Yeah.
That's it. And he is a winner at heart. And he's a fighter. And he's a game planner. And he's a studier. And he always considers himself the underdog. Right now, I feel like a lot of what's happening offensively, you've got to think this is the highest scoring offense in the Big 12.
Yep.
An offense that we thought was going to be chopped liver, chum thrown in the water for sharks, like nothing. And they are devastating teams. They are taking the ball on first possessions, and they are cutting through them like butter. Now, I don't know if they haven't hit the defense that knows, and if that's going to be Morgan Scalley that knows, and you're going to have Junior Tafuna, and you're going to have Connor O'Toole, and you're going to have this healthy core because you had the bye week, and they're going to feel like Lander Barton's ready to go, and Kearney Reed's ready to go, and let's go. We know what Aaron Roderick's going to do, and we're going to bring it at you. Even then, you think you know what Aaron Roderick's going to do, and then you don't. Because he is a psychological killer.
Yeah.
When he wants to be, he has the ability to just cut throats offensively. And I think in this rivalry game, I think that he could be the X factor.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think that he's quietly been the X factor to the success that we've seen from this team to this point.
Well, and when I'll admit I rolled my eyes a little bit when I heard him say in camp, he's like, look, we had Zach Wilson, we had Jaron Hall, we did all right with those guys. We'll be all right this year. And I was like, Jake Retzloff and Gary Bohannon, they're not Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
And they're not Jaron Hall.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? He said, look, I got those guys going. I'm going to get this guy going. And guess what? He's gotten this guy going.
Well, where Aaron Roderick lost some people, where he lost a lot of people, was last season.
Yeah.
Before the season, he said, we've upgraded at every position. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yes. Yep.
And a lot of people were buying it, and a lot of people sunk into it. It was like, upgraded at every position, and you lost Jaron Hall to the draft? And then you watch this display, and you're like, geez, man, he really fed us a line there. And I think he lost a lot of people. And then I think he just decided, I'm going to stay quiet, and what I'm going to do is punch every person so hard in the face that they don't even realize they just got punched.
Yeah.
And right now this offensive staff is weaving together an offensive game plan that is nasty. And they're healthy. And they've got a 1-2 punch at the running back position. And they've got 2 NFL receivers. 1 potential draft pick. The other one probably a free agent this year in Lassiter. So I salute to Aaron Roderick.
Hans and Scotty will wrap up this bad boy next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
BYU rolling over UCF to go 8-0. Can you believe it?
This is an impressive development. All the superlatives you want to use.
Shocking, surprising. Give me another one. You can't say unprecedented. They have gone 8-0 before. But I don't know if it was as surprising with any of those teams.
And the great thing, it's all earned. Nothing has been bestowed upon them. They didn't get any bestowage.
They were bestowage free.
Going into their 8th game, they were still an underdog. So even in the moment, they weren't getting any bestowage. Now, the windows of heaven have just exploded open, and it's all earned. That's what's so cool. Everything about this is earned. Nothing was given. Nothing.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.